Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. I know this has been a long time coming, but this will be my February wrap-up. I read 4 books, 2 that I owned and 2 were from the library on audiobook. The 2 from the library were A Wizard of Earthsea, which is I think my 3rd time reading it, and The Tombs of Atuan, which is my first time. It's part of the same series. I can actually get them all at the library, so that's why I'm reading them again. So I'll just talk about them. I'll put the covers somewhere. So A Wizard of Earthsea is about a young man who goes by Sparrowhawk, or Ged as well. But it's set in this world. It's like an island world. Well, at least in A Wizard of Earthsea, it's islands. And Ged is described as dark-skinned, and so is everybody else around him. And they have some invaders that are white-skinned. So I like that twist. And I believe Ursula K. Le Guin did that on purpose. And there's magic. And Ged becomes a wizard, obviously. Earthsea's the name. I don't know if they're... Like I said, in the first book there are islands, but I don't know if there's full-on continents. Maybe in later books we'll figure that out. Maybe, I don't know. Doesn't matter. But in this world, the magic is not so much light that on fire or whatever. It's knowing the name of things, like the name of fire or the name of rabbits and the name of birds, and then you get to talk to birds and talk to rabbits and light things on fire, that type of stuff. And Ged is, well, he's really good, but he's a bit cocky. And then along the Wizard of Earthsea, he grows up and becomes the powerful wizard that everybody knew he could be. And in the Tombs of Atuan, Ged isn't in it until halfway, maybe a little more. I mean, they're not very long, 7 hours, 6 hours. But it's about... I've forgotten her name. Tenar. She's the Kargish Empire, so they might be on a continent. I'm not sure. That is one reason there's a really fancy book with all, was it 5 or 6 titles all together, and I think it would have a map. When there's little places like this, I need maps. So it's about Tenar, and she's high priestess of these nameless ones at the tombs. And she's basically on her own, but with one guy, what's his name? Who's her valet type of thing, and she also goes by a different name, like Ged, Arha, and it means the eaten one, according to the Wikipedia, and I think it's because it's the nameless ones are eating her when she goes into the tomb, and she's not supposed to come out of the tomb because she's the main big priestess type of, she's the high priestess, even though she's only 16? 14 maybe? I'm not sure if she ever gets a definitive age. And she gets taken from her parents when she's younger, and she's basically brought up by 3 main priestesses, and there's little girl priestesses also, but she's the high priestess, so she's always set back from everybody. And she's basically, or they believe that Tenar is speaking or whenever she does something, it's like the nameless ones are doing it through her, that type of thing. But nobody really knows what's going on because they're sort of like isolated from the main city and the rest of the world of their little nation. So they're just sort of doing what they've always done. And then Ged shows up and basically breaks her world open, and she has to decide what to do from there. She is told that wizards are evil. I don't think they have any. I don't even know if their priestesses do any magic, or it's just sort of smoke and mirrors type of thing. Excuse me. And so she's like really like distrustful of Ged and all the stuff he tries to do, but you know, she has to learn to think for herself, basically. And that's what those two books are about. And Ged had, I don't know if it says, I don't know if it says how long it's been since the first one, but Ged is, I don't even know if Ged gets an, I can't remember if Ged gets an age in the first one after a certain point. But it's been at least a couple years, maybe 4 to 6, since A Wizardiversity, because Ged is like nonplussed by everything that happens. He's just like, yeah, okay, I know I can get out of this. So I quite enjoyed those. I have the third one at Libby to be read. So let's go with the next ones. I was going to read, as you know, I was going to read this and, this one, The Silence of the Girls. I do not recommend that, reading them back to back, because this was, I don't know, it was kind of depressing, and this is kind of depressing. So it sort of put me into a reading slump, which is why I only got 4. So I would recommend, if you want to read them both, don't read them back to back. But this is Stonebind by Natalie Haynes. This is about Medusa, obviously. And it's a different take. In this one, she is, it's like all her myths mashed together, because, well, there's, in Greek myth, she was born like her sisters with the snakes and all that stuff. It was later feminist interpretations, I believe. I know it was later myths that, or interpretations of it, where Poseidon raped her in Athena's temple, and then Athena turned her into the Gorgon, even though there were already 2. So, in this, she is born, and she's born of the same parents as her Gorgon sisters. So she has wings, and I think that's it. I think she has feet, not the snake tail like her sisters. She's basically mortal but with wings, and her sisters are like, she's given to them as, she's just left there by their parents, and they're like, what do we do? And then they become great, amazing sisters. I love her sisters. And then she grows up really beautiful, and Poseidon rapes her in Athena's temple, and Athena turns her, she doesn't get a snake tail, turns her hair into snakes, and then she can turn people to stone. She doesn't. What does she do? She turns a couple of animals around their cave into stone accidentally. She won't even look at her sisters, even though we are told that they're immortal and it probably won't do anything. But she goes, I love my sisters. It's not happening. And once again, as in the other books I've read, all the gods are awful. Athena is not shown, none of them are shown in a well light, bright light, whatever. But, Athena's the main culprit. And in all the Greek myths, she's the one helping the heroes. And in this, she doesn't even care about the hero. What's his face? Perseus? I can't even remember. And so Perseus gets told in this, and Andromeda. So and then there was a point. Let me see if I can find it. Perseus had done the deed. And, I liked the book. I was enjoying it, even though I hated all the gods. But it was, where is this? And it's sort of out of order, because they talk about Athena having a child with Hephaestus, and which I think happened. It doesn't. But so some things are a little out of order, but it's okay because that's just the way it was told. A lot of Poseidon slander as well, because Athena doesn't like him, and obviously he's just as bad as Zeus. They talk about the Athena, Poseidon, Athens picking one. Where is it? Oh my god. Oh, it's this chapter. Herpeta, which has snakes. I know it's snakes, but I can't remember. Like, herpetology is a study of snakes or something. And it's Medusa's snakes on her head talking about what's happened. And one of them is like, or they're all like, we knew he was coming. She was asleep. He just snuck up on her. Everyone should know, like right here, everyone will forget that she's asleep. And they're all sort of fighting each other. And then there's just, the gut punch. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I was like, oh my god. The ending was like, oh my god. And I still have sort of a reaction. It still sort of makes my heart flutter, in a way. And I just sort of fell in love with the book from then on. And I actually liked the ending of the book as well. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I just liked the Natalie Haynes' take on Medusa. I would like a myth or a retelling, because there might be another one about Medusa. I know there's gonna be a couple about Medea, who's also depends on what you read, what play you read about her. But I would like a retelling of the Medusa where she is just a full-on Gorgon like her two sisters, and Poseidon doesn't touch her, and she's just like a Maleficent type of villain. That would be great. But yes, I enjoyed it. I would pick it up even if you don't like Greek mythology. The chapters are pretty short. It goes pretty fast, so yeah. That's a plus for me. Ooh, excuse me. Ugh. And the final book I read was the last book in the Heritage of Shannara. which is called The Talismans of Shannara. And it is essentially our 4 Shannara relatives coming back to, like, all the main characters just coming back together, and Ren comes back and Walker comes back. They keep calling him Walker Bow. I noticed that's a thing in the Terry Brooks novels. I think I've said that before. Almost everybody sometimes gets like a full... He's always Walker Bow, not just Walker. And she's like Ren, whatever her last name is, and Par Olmsford, and never just Par. I'm like, okay. Like, all the characters get that, so I just think, I don't know why he chose to do that. I think that's interesting. But yeah, it's essentially the culmination of the other 3 books, and the first one and the first one is Scions, and this last one is about Par mostly. As, the middle 2, one was about Walker with hints of Par, and one was about Ren with hints of Par. These are about Par. And it's him sort of coming to terms with the little Olmsford magic he has, and what that means for him and the future. And, it's also about Walker coming to terms. I mean, it's like the 3rd time. Or the 2nd time. He has to once again... because of what happened to him with the Black Elfstone. He has to come to terms with that. There's a character death, which I was really sad about. There were a couple, actually, that I was really sad about. And then Ren has to... she's young. I don't think she's that much older than Par. And she has to be a leader now, and she's unsure, and, everybody else is unsure of her because she's so young, and she sort of came out of nowhere. But yeah, and, it all works out in the end, as it usually does at the end of a trilogy or quad. And, it was really good. I know, this is all 4 in 1, which is why it's so big. So it read pretty fast, I want to say. One of my favorite characters is the mole. He's in the main human city, and he lives underground, and he was lovely. Excuse me. And, Par and his brother Cole, C-O-L-L? Cole, maybe. Sort of have to face their fears and stuff, and I just really like this series, and it's, even though it's sort of the same, like a big bad villain, and then the Shannara descendants have to take care of it. It manages to be different each time because of how far apart from the elvenness a lot of them are, so their magic isn't as strong as like the first book, or they have to like, Walker has to become a druid even though he doesn't want to be, and he has to do all those druidy things, and he's like, ugh, fine, and he comes to terms with that eventually. But yeah, I just really like this. I can't wait to see what happens, because I've looked up some things about, like, I'm gonna jump back in time, I believe, with the next book. This one is about the original Shannara. No, not Juro. Yeah. No, I can't remember. But this is about, obviously. And then the next one is about, like, even earlier in the timeline, so that's interesting. But I've heard some stuff about later in the timeline that I think has a lot to do with this, particularly the elves. And I'm assuming they're all like elves and dwarves and humans and giants and not giant trolls and everybody are all friends. But I'm sure by the time that happens, they're all gonna be enemies again. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to continue the series. So those were the 4 books I read in February. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you wanna. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.